Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 13 of Khai, our modded CS2 build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Just enjoying someone actually walking down the Sepang Trail at the minute. We've walked all the way down the beach, and now they're heading all the way down to the marina that we set up, indeed, last episode, which went tremendously well. In today's episode, we mentioned that we have some hillside plans in store. I want to get some luxury housing in these hills here. And then I also want to build a dedicated wind farm area for these turbines that are now a little bit in the way. So, kind of some weird projects today. Bit of wind turbines and luxury homes. So let's get started with the homes, shall we? So we set up these frames last episode, which we'll definitely expand out of. So I'd love to, of course, respect the terrain. I want to do as little terraforming as possible here. So let's talk about the concept, and then we can time-lapse up the placement. So I want to draw out an alleyway road here, and I want to be using contour lines on show here as well. Because I'd like the homes to have as smooth a gradient as possible. I don't really want them getting any... The 0.5 is fine. Minus 10%. This is a little bit steep there. So just trying to follow the contour lines with these, and we'll just snake them up and around like that. And that's going to give us some nice zonable spaces. So we could zone here, however we will probably end up plopping for a lot of this, I imagine. So we can filter for various depths. Now I think that the waterfront homes, if we can pick out one that we like, there we go. There's one with a pool. Now this should have really cool views over the town of Triton here. You can even see Sully from up here as well. But most importantly, they have views of the ocean, even though they have a fence, but I guess they can stand on the slide. Check it out. But a tasteful array of luxury homes looking out over the town on this hillside here is really what I want to go for. So we'll have some suburban fun. These guys will not have power until we connect you in, so let's do that now. I think with this road, we'll actually make this small 2-lane. And then we can treat this as a bit of a collector for the neighborhood, but I think for the roads with the houses on them, more likely stick with the alleyways. Now, where do we want to send you? Up the hill is an option here. We do have a dirt road at the top, which would be better connectivity, but that's a real switchbacky system, which I'd be happy with. You definitely find these on kind of mountain island communities, I suppose, don't we? So let's just try sensibly climb up here. We're going to get some cut and fill there. How do we feel about that road? Yeah, it's not too horrendous. So that'll give us a switch back in mountain road, which isn't too horrendous. I didn't want to turn on Anarchy because I'd like the slopes to remain at least somewhat sensible. So if the game says no, then we'll listen to that for the most part. There's a few bits of cut and fill that needs to be removed, but otherwise gives us a way up onto the top of the mountains, which I'm not really sure what we're going to do with the rest of Khai's mountaintops just yet, to be honest. Imagine a lot of industry might end up occupying them, although we'll see. But either way, let's return to our housing ideas here, and we can now finally connect these in. It gives them their services. Let's place a few of these down, and then we'll get an impression as to how this is going to sit as part of a hillside suburb, which will certainly have some issues to deal with, given the fact that terrain is going to be very heavily tearing behind these houses. So let's have a look at them. Yeah. So we definitely, this is really severe over here, isn't it? So we'll need to amend this. So what I'm planning to do with it is just to terraform out so they're all on the same layer. And then with this hill here, I think what we will do is let's set the height to be there. And then basically from the bottom of this road here, just want to slope up to that level. Which of course will look a little bit unnatural at first. But it'll really help just to blend in that layer that pierces out the bottom of the asset. which should give us, when we soften out all the slopes, a much more appropriate kind of gradation on those houses at the top. Which I think I'll be much happier with. I really love that you can just see those more expensive houses on the top there as well. Very handy. I like that. And then in terms of how we want to tier this, we could just... I mean, how's it going to work if we kind of come around the bottom here? Let's have a little look at how this is going to play out. I'll leave a little bit of room. We could do the cut and fill feature to create essentially a retaining wall against the houses on the top layer. But I'm not massively sure I want to do that. I don't want it to look too over-engineered, if you like. But then let's grab another selection of our waterfront houses using mixes of European and North American. I don't think there's too much differentiation between the two styles. As long as they're the waterfront homes, because they tend to be a little bit more luxurious. We'll also use some signature buildings here as well. And then as that second layer becomes known, we can just re-slope them out again. So it's creating more of a more natural tier, isn't it, rather than using the concrete retaining wall. Which I suppose we could, I guess, just use the Anarchy mod here to actually just test out the retaining wall to see if it is something we want to work into the suburb. Also, it'll work just by a terraform layer there, wouldn't it? Let's just see how we feel about that as a concept. Yeah, I don't mind it, but I think for a neighborhood like this, I just don't think you'd see it. Maybe against the occasional property, but certainly not against most of the roads, I don't think. So I'm actually going to remove that instead. And then we'll just soften them back out. Fantastic. And then with this process and technique, we should be able to create some really nice viewpoints up here. Definitely a bit of a playground for the rich and the famous. Kind of similar to what we did in the Bay of Sully over here. You know, kind of the richer homes facing out across the water. I think the hillsides over Triton definitely lend themselves well to that more luxurious, wealthy vibe, don't they? In terms of what we're going to do around here, I'd love to place some services for the rich and famous of Khai. So I'd love to formulate a bit more of a solid road network with that in mind. Let's bring this road down here. We'll stick a little cul-de-sac roundabout on the end, because we're not going to connect that to the highway. And then we'll also grow this up as well. And then just create some zonable spaces for commercial parks, police stations and whatnot to develop as Upper Triton grows. So let's get some basic services down for them. How are we doing for education levels in Khai these days? Elementary school, of course, is always needed. It never ever goes away. This one here is only 125,000. But is the French school perhaps a little stylized for this area? Don't mind having like an older town here. Kind of, you know, used to be kind of the main town centre before the high rises of Triton were built. I wouldn't mind exploring that vibe. Maybe just a tiny little bit of French zoning. In terms of the police station, we could have this one significantly more expensive than its regular counterpart though, which I'm wary of murdering Khai's very delicate budget. Although we do have 13,000 now. I think last episode really helped the economy, didn't it? Okay, do we go for the French firehouse then? I think that'd be quite a nice compliment to the town, wouldn't it? And then let's grab some French mixed use. And again, I don't really want to go too big here, so let's stick to a maximum of 4 deep. I don't really want it to get much larger than that. Possible French low rent housing too. I don't really want low rent housing here. I think I'd be on board with some medium density. I'll let them grow so it stays fairly random. Now let's get some luxury in here. We'll have a couple of tennis courts. And then I think certainly the French Medical Centre would be welcome here too. Yeah, and we probably Don't need any of the upgrades. We do have the capacity upgrade, don't we, for French school. I suppose we'll do. That should at least bring us slightly into the orange for elementary school. But otherwise, I'll be happy to have a little French town centre go up around here. Nothing too big, not like a proper French district. In terms of what we're going to do with this French pack on Khai, I'm thinking maybe kind of a French colonial district, which would make sense given this is a tropical island, to have a bit of a French colonial area. So I'll probably check out French Polynesia, I think, for that. Try get some inspiration from there. But we'll wait and see regardless. But I think that's the best way to use the French pack on this type of map. Yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm after. And I can't fawn over these French pack assets enough. They are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that's perfect. Just a little bit of French on the main street there. That's all I'm after. And then around this, on the flat ground, we'll very much have the room for just lots of waterfront housing to grow in these spaces. It's all really zonable around here. We'll only really need to plop on these awkward hillsides. But I think that'll be the general concept for Upper Triton. You know what, I reckon we should probably keep some of these French assets going up to here as well. Zoning will be slightly broken, but I think that's okay. And then we'll do a little bit more French mixed use through here. Cool. Did say. Didn't want it to get too big. And already I'm zoning larger squares of it. It's just so zonable. I love the French buildings. Splendid and tremendous. So we got some nice pallets moving around here for a little town centre across the highway there, which is already looking rather nice. So we'll let them grow and develop, see what happens, and we can do some refining during the detail time lapse. Until that point, the second bit of today's episode I wanted to move on to, before we start detailing, is going to be a proper wind farm installation, because for a long time now, Khai has relied on wind power to service itself along with coal over in the port over there. So let's have a little look. So I want to grab these. Now where's our strong wind? We can very easily get 5 megawatts around here. Now is that about the highest point of this part of the map? There's higher points over there, which for some reason aren't windy. That's fine. But regardless, probably here then, I reckon, right? Yeah, this little junction here seems like it's going to be a good point for a proper wind farm installation. Let's get rid of all the trees. So for a long time, Khai's wind farms have just been placed wherever they'll go. So I actually want to make sure we give them a proper area today. So let's grab the dirt road, and we'll definitely keep our topography views on for this. So let's try and create a little bit of admin space here. So we'll have a snaky little dirt road that winds across the top of the hill. Something like that. And then trying to stick to the higher parts of the mountain. Let's maybe have one come up through here to that cliff face, and we can probably even blend in a little bit of industrial zone in this as well, just to help satisfy those demands, because we've done significant amounts more of kind of commercial and residential building in Khai so far. We will need to look at a mine relatively soon. Our production chains are threatening to become a little bit more unbalanced because we got a 41-ton deficit of coal now. We have coal plants in the map, so we need to address that. Splendid, that's wonderful though. So rather than place new ones, we'll just move our wind turbines over. I guess I'm not really too bothered where they sit. Let's just have one there. So I do have all the upgrades on this. We've got advanced rotor system, solar assist. I don't have the battery extension, but that's okay. I'm not too bothered about that. So let's get all these guys moved over. So that's a much more appropriate position for them, isn't it? You see a boat over there as well. He's come from Philadelphia. Very cool. Love that. Still one of my favourite features of CS2, namely the outside connections. But I'm much happier with that. I think just to future-proof our power, because we will be doing a fair bit of expansion today, we'll place one more turbine. How about here, right on the edge? Yeah, I love that. So I'd love to create just a little bit of a worker's shed. Actually wouldn't be averse, you know, to... I know we can't afford it right now. But maybe a radio mast over here. Would a wind turbine interfere with a radio mast? Though it's not great coverage, is it? Is it the telecom tower we want? Because, yeah, this telecom tower for some reason is very orange now. Can we check our coverage, I wonder? Yeah, they don't have fantastic network quality. I'm not sure why that is. This doesn't have an upgrade. It was green when we placed it, wasn't it? Maybe it's just too much bandwidth now. So we need a second one. I think that's pretty much covers this whole area, doesn't it? Because they are sensitive to terrain, of course. But okay, I reckon we'll get another telecoms tower in. We'll do that during the detail and time lapse when some money has actually stockpiled for Kokai. Let's do a little bit of industrial zone in here. So just the occasional collection of buildings, probably nothing bigger than 3x3. And where else do we want to do one here, I guess? Maybe in this little corner. Now I just want to level off the land around here. And just treat this as a bit of a, just workers administration area, a place where tools are kept, spare parts. If anything needs to arrive here, they have a bit of a call-in point. So I'm not particularly bothered what grows up. We'll let the supply chain decide what it wants to have satisfied. But then we'll just work around that to create some more walkable spaces. Now we've also got some little stairways on these turbines as well, don't we? I wonder if we come over to our ground textures. Now we've got a few of these knocking around. But as always, I cannot stay away from riverbed thin. So I think if we just to create a little pathway up to them. I will do this for every one of them. But just to create a bit of a well-trodden path. As if this is where the engineers are actually walking up to the turbines. It's a very subtle difference, but I think it once it's in for everyone, it'll just add that little bit of personality into the yard, won't it? So we've got some pretty basic industrial units here, which I don't mind. Let's use a better bulldozer. We'll take off a fence or two. Also make sure that they are historical, that's fine. And then let's just use some very basic surfaces here. Surfaces, sorry. So we'll drag this one down to the road. Just fill that concrete texture in. And maybe even up here actually, let's create a bit of a different shape. And we'll have Anarchy on as well, so we can intersect with these other buildings. Something like that. And then we can use picker. And then just grab these off. No, we do also have as well, if we can search for metal in our props, yeah, we have some of these metal stacks, which I think very much could look like they are wind turbine spare parts. I'm not saying spare rotor blades, because I imagine they need to be lifted by some kind of crane. But at least just some metal stacks here. I wouldn't mind the occasional generator as well. Full of spools of wire. And then maybe a little gas bottle rack if we have a gas generator here, I think would be appropriate. We'll stick some wonderful decals down on this as well. Let's get some stains. And just dirty up and weather this concrete a little bit. You imagine it's going to be very exposed to the elements this high up. So just something like that. And then let's grab ourselves a little net lane. We'll just grab simple industrial fence. Come off with no snap in here as well. And then just to box that in there where you would expect it to be not accessible to the general public. I wouldn't mind a couple of little leaves around here too. The occasional one, don't really want any trees. You definitely don't see trees near the turbines. There's actually a quarry not too far from where I live that has its own wind turbine, which could actually be a fun little build to factor into our eventual quarry build when we come to it. And then let's also do one more little well-trodden turbine engineer's pathway up to the turbine. Then before we know it, we should have just something a bit more interesting than just wind turbines on a hill, you know. We're going to satisfy power here. We have some new jobs and buildings that are making plastics in this instance, minerals in that one, and paper in the other. Slowly contributing to the supply chain, but now it just looks a little bit more lived in, if you like, doesn't it? Like there are engineers at work here, and there's storage, tools, spare parts, whatever you want to have there. You can have that around our wind turbines, and we'll probably do a couple more of these little facilities, maybe one up this side of the road during the time lapse too. And then we'll also throw in that telecoms tower up here as well. But either way, let's move into a detailing time lapse, get all of our hillside houses in and some more services and parks around the town centre. And then finally, we can finish this part of the map, which has been long awaited. And then we might have a look at doing our metro yard next episode as well, and finally getting the metro flowing if we can afford it. But either way, let's detail up our new wind turbine farm and rich neighbourhood, and then we'll be right back. let's have a little look around the hills of Triton, shall we? It's a tram. Passes by the marina. Isn't that a wonderful sight? Next episode, I think we're going to get stuck into that metro. I really want to see it flowing through here now. It's very tempting, regardless. Checking out over here, we have a pedestrian bridge that now crosses the highway. There was a ton of people walking down this particular road, which I don't mind people walking here, but now literally all of them are choosing to use the bridge instead, which is wonderful to see. It's nice and busy through here, so keeping people off of the pedestrian crossings, which is great. And then through here, we have decals, commercial, parking, a little bit of off-road custom parking here as well, with some fence work next to a little local police station, and then some kind of edge of town parking here on the road. On the approach from the downtown, where there's also some flower art reading Upper Triton, has a bit of landscaping for the hillside neighbourhood, which looks really cool now. So we sit back in at the town centre looking at it from this perspective with the little French district over the other side of the highway, which has served as a wonderful town centre. Swinging back toward the police station, there is a bus that now runs through this town. We'll see the bus stops as we go. That heads back to the harbour on the other side of the highway interchange. And those French assets have made a wonderful small town, haven't they? Just kind of glancing across the town centre there with the football pitch and the parking. It's turned out very tastefully. Clinic, great corner asset. And then dropped in some stain decals on the whiter buildings, just so they look a little bit more weathered, cracked, etc. I think it really helps them blend in, doesn't it? Tree-lined streets down here, toward the end of the road, down by the football pitch. We have an extended surface with some decals and stains, extra prop work around the back of the stands, and there's also some net lane work here as well, which you can just about see, just to try and indicate where vehicles would have kind of mounted the curb here and turned around to loop back around after dropping something off, etc. You know, just kind of a natural pathway the vehicles would take. Which is very subtle, but it is quite effective. I really like how that turned out. There is this cover thing here, which I'm not sure what that is. And some asset had glitched into place there, but now we have some decals and graffiti up and along the side of the stadium. But a really cute little corner of the town down here, as the highway has been fully sound barriered this side now too. In between the apartments, we have some light tennis action with some benches, bins, a little bit of wall work, and some motorcycle parking. Only the French are cool enough to drive motorcycles, of course. So they have their own parking here now. Down the street, and the little town centre worked out wonderfully. I love these assets so much. They really help serve as a bit of a small town centre, don't they? Bit of shopping and mixed use down the main street. And then the town falls away around the rest of it with on-street parking in the commercial strip. As we head down to the road where the national couplet has received some extra connections just to help manage load into various different ways now. This was all dirt roads before, so I just upgraded the infrastructure to handle the new traffic that'll be coming through here. As this grows out and that mountain road eventually connects to something in the near future. Then arriving at the hillside suburb, we've just packed in the middle of the houses with trees, and they all have really cute views over the city. Definitely the best place to live in Khai here. And then as you come up to the top of the hill, there are some signature buildings up here with the architect's mansion having the best view with a little bit of lawn and more thoughtfully placed assets here all across the top. Some more of the really nice signature buildings getting the best views in the city. And then it just came together really nice. Nice little use of some very awkward terrain. And we have used the cut and fill feature, of course, in various situations, I think, where it was appropriate. I think everywhere it would have just been too much. It was a nice little extension over this side of the highway interchange, which is also getting more traffic now. We were waiting for this thing to become active for quite a long time. And it's really getting great flow, isn't it? It's satisfying to watch as it gets busier and busier. As more things get built over here. But yeah, really cute. Also did a little bit of forest work out here with multiple different textures. Just off the exit to the interchange, as the Upper Triton suburb is kind of shielded by the forest here. So it was nice, big fan of it, big fan of it. Regardless, up the top of the hill here, we've done a little bit of country detailing with some fence work decals as the tarmac road merges into that sand road, again, which has a really cool view if you're kind of arriving over the mountain with the speed limit signs there. I think that's certainly a screenshot, isn't it? Yes, please. So really happy with a little bit of country personality there. And then atop the A wind farm interchange we've added the telecoms tower with some extended industrial detailing around the assets that spawned here. With some fencing, light terrain work and some decals on those harsher cliff faces for some rocks. Very tasteful, and provided extra capacity for the bandwidth over here for people using the internet, which is wonderful. Again, really cool views. There's just something quite satisfying about developing hilltop builds on this map. They very much kind of become part of your skyline, don't they, if we kind of get a wider perspective of the Triton town here. Really adds a lot, doesn't it? Just having some, life on the mountains that keeps the city running below. So really appreciate it. Up here we just have the prop work we did on camera, and each of the turbines has had their little well-trodden path built into them. And then coming over here we have another one of these little industrial units with some fencing around it, some overgrowth, well-trodden paths, and a couple of vehicles that may be used to service the rest of the wind turbines if they need it. With some texture work, decals, overgrowth, rocks and whatnot. Now that's a really great view there, isn't it, with the mass wind farm behind. With a screenshot there, I think. So I know it's kind of like really small bits of detail, but I think it just really helps a wind turbine on a hill, doesn't it? And I always appreciate kind of small little industrial detailing like that. And I'm really loving more of the snaking dirt roads that appear across the island of Khai as it starts to develop. And we'll start seeing some traffic on these roads as well soon, which is really cool. Very excited indeed. Otherwise guys, that will do it for today. Let's thank you all so much for watching. Massive shout out to the patrons that support the channel, with a special roll call to Andrew Perez and O'Higgs. If you want to get involved in that, links are down below. To Patreon Instant Gaming, best ways to help support the channel if you wish. I'm really happy with how Triton has turned out. This will pretty much be it for this side of the map now. I don't want the footprint getting any bigger. Next episode we're going to get stuck into that metro. I can't wait to have actual trains flowing through here, where we'll spend the episode building a little area for the yard itself and do some really cool national networks with metro and highways. They kind of criss and cross each other using the hills. I've got some nice ideas in mind for that. And then we'll also weave it through the farms as well, which I think will be a bit of a throwback to Palaven for those that were around for that very, very old build. But either way, please do enjoy some cinematics of today's build, but I'll show up and leave it there. I'll leave in some wider cinematics of the finished Triton today. Otherwise, let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.